The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 415 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
I'm not shocked that it sort of blew us away.
It's very Dave in that you feel like you saw a lot, but you saw nothing.
We heard the roar of the audience here in Long Beach, California.
And did they throw tech off the stage after that?
Oh, too soon. Too soon. You know, I appreciate the Narkina 5 run, but I prefer the Hujib Hop. It wouldn't be a convention if you didn't get hit by a backpack 40 to 50 times a day.
I want Purrgils and Star Tours.
Okay, there you go.
I want Purrgils and Star Tours.
The following 15 seconds, nobody heard it the first time through because everyone was screaming, having seen throughout space.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never Land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Another celebration has come and gone, but it leaves behind so much news and great stories to look forward to, and we will break down all the highlights quicker than you can say, "We want Purrgils and Star Tours." With that, let's welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah, who will go this week without a moniker because I didn't come up with one.
Well, you know what?
That's why I was talking really slowly.
I'm going to go back to your intro because I want Purrgils and Star Tours.
Okay, there you go.
I want Purrgils and Star Tours. Purrgils! Space whales!
You know what? I'm wondering why they didn't sell Purrgils in the gift
I
shop.
was just thinking I want a Purrgil plush.
Yeah. Oh,
Who wants a Purrgil plush?
They dropped the ball. Because they didn't have any Purrgils at the Celebration gift shop.
At the previous celebrations, they've had Loth cats and
Loth wolves
and Loth
things.
Porgs, Tauntauns.
Tauntauns and Wampas. But can you imagine how quickly those would have sold out?
Ah. Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what? I promise next week you'll have a moniker.
Okay. Oh, Meredith wants Purrgils in Batuu. Absolutely. All right, Skywalkers. Well, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom. So it's time. Imagine a big Wookiee hug from us and a little sprinkle of pixie dust for your week for our family of Skywalkers.
Now give a Purrgil sound too. Give a little splash of Purrgils.
Okay. I know speak Purrgil.
Channel Dory. Dory can speak whale.
That's what I did.
Ooh.
Where is the whale?
And now everyone say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who can speak Purrgil.
There you go. Way to retrofit that in there. All right, well, coming up on this episode, we will be breaking down Celebration Europe 2023 with Tricia Barr from Fangirls Going Rogue and BJ Priester from FanGIRL Blog, and what you think of the announcement that the next celebration will be in Japan on Easter weekend again.
Arga. Now, should I read the Small World Vacations commercial
in
Purrgil?
Probably not.
Okay, I won't. We are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world or on the Galactic Star Cruiser, where you may or may not see a Purrgil. And best of all, this service is free of charge. So Sarah, what do they do?
Head to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote and tell them that Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
And say it like a Purrgil. I think we found a new Hoojib mascot.
Oh, I should make a Purrgil something.
Yes, you
Like a
yes you
shirt.
are. Yes, you are.
Oh, now I'm sad I didn't add Purrgils to the book. Okay.
Now we are recording from Long Beach, California on April the 11th, 2023.
So Richard, what happened today in Star Wars history?
Well, today in Star Wars history and in Celebration history, it was 4 years ago that Celebration Chicago began. On this date, April the 11th, 2019.
Yeah.
An estimated 65,000 fans came together for this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how many fans came together for Celebration Europe.
Yeah, actually, I would want to know. I heard it was pretty crowded.
It was very, very crowded, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
without looking at the notes, Sarah, how many celebrations was that?
Oh.
The Chicago celebration.
Considering
Considering the domestic and international.
Oh, gosh.
Does anyone else know this?
10? I'm going to say 10.
Okay, don't look at the answer.
Wait, that doesn't... Wait.
And anyone else?
6.
Let's see who else in the Sky Chat.
I'm gonna say
Okay,
10.
Reynolds says 15. So the answer is between you and Reynolds.
Oh.
It's not 10. It's between 10 and 15. What is
Okay,
it?
anybody else?
All right.
Skywalkers.
Well, you guys are no cheating, no googling this. That's on the honor system. We're gonna trust you. Tony says 12, and so far Tony is the closest. This one was the 13th.
Well, Eric got it.
Eric
got it.
Unkenhout. Yes. Oh, speaking of Eric, if anyone has not read Eric's recent articles on Fraser Diamond and Alan Fling, and he did one on Joseph Shirley.
The composer.
Yeah, go over
of The
there to
Mandalorian.
the Skywalking Through Neverland website and read Eric's really in-depth articles.
Shantori also said 13.
Okay.
Great
All
job.
right, now let's go back to Celebration Chicago. I remember this because this was the celebration that it snowed.
Yes. Yes, it did. It was April and it snowed. And we were out there in our costumes. We cosplayed.
Yes, I was running around as Walrus Man in the snow.
Yes.
That's what I remember.
And I was Captain Marvel Ray.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I was like a mashup.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
All right, this is also the convention where the episode 9 title was revealed, The Rise of Skywalker. And everyone was like, what does that mean? That can mean so many different things. And also, we saw the first glimpse of The Mandalorian. That was so
That's right.
yeah, so exciting because it was Star Wars on TV. What does Star Wars live action on TV look like? And there we have it. And the clip that keeps replaying in my head is the quacking monkey spit roasted on that open grill.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then we saw like a bunch of sticks with helmets on them.
Yes. Yeah, spikes
Yeah.
with Stormtrooper helmets.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't get that image of the quacking monkey
Wow.
being spit roasted. Ugh.
Okay, what else did we have?
Also, we got a lot of coverage on Galaxy's Edge, and they gave us the DJ Rex playlist.
That's right.
That was so exciting, and it was being hosted. That panel was being hosted by Josh Gad.
Oh,
Olaf.
cool.
This was so exciting to us because Galaxy's Edge is in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Woo. Also, we had Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order panel, which had the game's director and developers, and they had a story reveal trailer as well. And now that game, people love that game.
Yeah. Hold on. Eric is also pointing out there was a Fallen Order panel, according to Today in Star Wars History.
He must have it open. That's our book, everybody. In case you don't know, if you're tuning in and you don't know, we did write 2 books. You wrote 2 books.
Mm-hmm. And you illustrated.
I lay out and
laid it
illustrated
out,
and
yeah.
everything. And they're available at skywalkingthrough-neverland.com/book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were the highlights of Star Wars Celebration Chicago.
Yes.
Seems like only yesterday. And I was thinking, as I was writing my notes, that was the last celebration in the U.S., but no. last year.
Anaheim.
Celebration Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
I these last couple of years, I just can't keep track. That's why I wrote a book.
Yeah. The Halcyon.
Oh, yeah, and Dale points out in the Sky Chat the Halcyon reveal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so much to that celebration. There's so much to go over.
Eric is reading your book. I love it. Aw.
All right, now speaking of books, we have some book news in Things We Want to Share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
All right, it's official, everybody. We are launching Skywalking Through My Fandom. This is an interactive notebook. You get to share your story of a galaxy far, far away. There's journal section, there's puzzles, there's checklists, there's icebreakers, there's sections where you can list off your favorite things in Star Wars, and it's all illustrated by me.
Look at those nice illustrations by Sarah on the cover.
Yeah, and written by Richard and I. And this is officially launching May the 4th, but you can pre-order. Pre-orders are open now at skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book. And you might read through, there might be a little discount code for you. If you're part of the Skywalking Force, make sure to check out Patreon because we have put out a discount code for you. So this book is only $12. Skywalking Force members get it 50% off. So yeah, make sure to look for that code. And we are so excited.
Read off a couple of the checklist items.
Okay. All right.
Okay, give you a little bit of a preview here.
Some checklists.
Meredith says, I might need 6.
Aw.
Just go for a baker's dozen.
Some checklist items. Oh, well.
So basically, as an overview, this is a book that chronicles your fandom. People you have met in the fandom, friends, cosplay you may have done, attire, checklists that cover a lot of different subjects. So you can chronicle all of your Star Wars fandom in this one book. And it took us about 3 months to come up with all of these checklists.
Mm-hmm.
Now go ahead and read just a couple of them, Sarah.
Okay.
Oh, and Kelly says, it's fantastic. I'm coloring a page now.
She got a preview because she's in the Skywalking Force.
Yeah, we have coloring pages. There's Hujib coloring pages, Tusken Raiders, Jawas, Kenner action figures.
I have to share one of my favorite coloring pages.
Okay, spoiler, this is the last page.
Look at how funny it is.
There's a Greedo, Walrus Man, and Snaggletooth, all based on the Kenner action figures.
Okay.
All right, so read some things right here. All right, this is a list of my favorite things.
So you get to fill in. What is your favorite Star Wars film? Character. Expanded universe character.
Animated character.
Cute and cuddly character.
Bounty hunter.
Favorite scene.
Animated series.
Live action series.
Lightsaber battle.
Weapon.
Actor.
Director.
Author.
Artist.
I'm sorry, you just said artist. Composer, and many, many more.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's get to this other section over here.
Okay.
There's also speaking of which, a Star Wars Celebration checklist.
Yes.
Every celebration going back to the first celebration, which I call Celebration 0, all the way up to Celebration Europe is all in here. There's a Disney Parks section and a checklist. Did you go to Star Tours? Which park? The classic version, the adventures continue, and there's a little box that I cannot check. That means, were you the rebel spy?
Oh.
I can't check that box. There's different subsections, the Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars Weekends, the Star Wars Half Marathons, Galactic Star Cruisers. Yeah, this was 3 solid months of massaging all of these checklists. And once again, crossword puzzles. There's so much to this. How many pages is this?
106.
Let's say.
It's 106 pages.
100. Oh, you're right. 106 pages.
Yes. Awesome.
Ways to, once again, chronicle your Star Wars fandom. And take it from me, the older you get, the more you forget. So you're going to want to write things down.
Yeah. Oh, Michael.
Oh, Michael
Welcome,
Epke's here.
Michael. He has never been the Rebel spy either. That is surprising.
And you work there.
Yeah.
I think it's time that you made a documentary.
And Dr. Mad Studio, you're tuning in just on time as we talk about Star Wars Celebration. He's from Britain, or she. Yes,
nice.
all who attended.
You know, speaking
Had a
of
great
Rebel
time.
Spy, here's something we want to share that's a tangential from what we're talking about right now. Rebel Spy Reject was just selected to be part of the May the 4th Sci-Fi Film Festival, which takes place in Dublin, Ireland.
Wow.
And they're holding this film festival right near the location where they shot Octo. The Skellig Michael. Skellig Michael, as we say over here in Long Beach.
But you have to say it like the Irish people, Skellig Michael.
No, I don't want to insult them.
Oh, no, but that
can't,
was cool.
No, I can't do accents.
On the Star Wars Visions panel, there was
Right.
an Irish person who said that. I was
So
like,
it'll be
oh, cool.
held right on the shore, so overlooking Octo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so exciting. And I'm not quite sure if it's like a competition or just screenings. I don't know, but it all takes place on May the 4th through the 6th. So
Yeah.
details to follow.
All right, as for Skywalking Through My Fandom, the book, and our Today in Star Wars History books, they are all available right there, skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book, and you can get your signed copies from us. And when you're checking out, make sure that you look at the notes section and put how you'd like it dedicated to. But if you happen to be in Anaheim this Saturday, we are going to be at AnaCon, which is a sci-fi convention at the library. It's this Saturday, April 15th from 11 to 4 p.m. It's a free event at the Anaheim Central Library. And so that is where you can find us. We'll have a booth. We'll be selling all of our books, and we'd love to see you in person.
Yeah, so once again, that is the Anaheim Central Library, located 500 West Broadway in Anaheim, California, 92805, this Saturday, April 15th, from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Now, it's time. Let's talk with Tricia Barr and BJ Priester about Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023.
Star Wars Celebration. Star Wars Celebration. Let's celebrate.
Celebration Europe 2023 just came to a close. Now, to help break down the loads of news, announcements, and reveals are Tricia Barr and BJ Priester from FanGIRL Blog.
Hey, Tricia and BJ!
Hello!
Celebration just ended, what, like an hour ago? How are you feeling right now? Like you need a long nap? As Tricia goes down.
Trisha's on the floor, everybody.
Yeah. It just hit her. The adrenaline just wore out, and she's out. All right, BJ, it's all up to you now.
Well, I will say, based on some of the celebrations we've done in the past, this one was a little less madcap. But I think that was in part because Tricia made the decision, not to do the podcast stage this year with Fangirls Going Rogue or anything like that. So we had a few less commitments than we have in the past, and we were able just to focus on the panels we wanted to attend and take the pictures we wanted to take and buy the things we wanted to buy and not feel like we had to run to 27 different things every day. So that was, it's still exhausting 4 days, but maybe not as bad as some of the previous ones.
Yeah, we gotta thank Lucasfilm for broadcasting it virtually, because we almost felt like we were there since we had it on pretty much, 24/7?
24/7 whenever we were home. We had like the live stream going, and you'd go to, it would like change from like an interview with some amazing person to a panel to then like a booth.
A man on the street kind of a thing.
Yeah, so it was really fun to watch from home, and then to see you guys, all your tweets and all your reels on Instagram and things. So yeah.
So even though we weren't there, we were still there. We were there in force spirit. So how would you compare this as a whole? Not even compare it. How would you rate this Celebration Europe 2023 as a whole?
Well, I feel like we've been doing this for a while, so we know how to temper expectations and know that you can't do everything. So through that lens, for the most part, things went pretty well, and I felt pretty good about the experience, just seeing the panels we saw and that kind of stuff. The store was actually easy breezy. I know that's not usually the case, and that's not everybody's experience, but I thought they did a really good job this time with the store, and the panels were pretty good. So I'd say it's like a 7, because there's always things that they could do better. That, like, nobody checked badges the first day. Security like made you nervous because they only had like 4 checkpoints and everybody went through it. So they essentially were just like waving people through, not checking badges. So you felt the first day a little nervous, like anybody could be in this convention. And then, there was a guy who was saying, hey, go after the convention, get Star Wars Lucasfilm on Twitter and that kind of stuff. So it was just that first day, a lot of people talked about that, but I think they recognized the problems and fixed it pretty quickly by the next day. And every day I saw improvement. So I appreciate that, because sometimes celebration get more chaotic, not less chaotic.
I always feel like the first day is always the most chaotic because none of the staff knows where to point people, and lines are just madcap, and people are cutting in line because they don't know where the line begins or ends.
I kind of agree with this. I would say in terms of some of the logistics we've seen in the past, it's like a 9. Like,
oh, wow.
the entrance queue went much more smoothly than usual. The loading people out of the queue hall into the regular hall went more smoothly than usual. The store, we waited probably 45 minutes to get in, but on that, was it Saturday evening, and only 1 shirt was sold out. All the merch was still available. They had plenty of checkout counters. There was no wait to check out. So those sort of logistics went better. And then for like the facility, I would give it like a 5, because the stages were all smaller than they have been. The celebration stage was only 4,500 people. The Galaxy stage is only 2,500 people. Yeah. That's way smaller than we've seen it in the past. And then also just the layout. I don't know if anyone looked at the maps, were available on celebration.com, but the convention center is built around a main corridor that goes east to west through the whole venue. And then there's convention halls to the north and south. And so the Funko and the convention store in the north hall, and the live stage was in the south hall. And so anyway, that corridor is not nearly wide enough for a convention of this size, and especially because it had a lot of the food courts and food booths and tables in the middle. So you weren't even able, it wasn't even like it was, 20 yards wide of flowing people. It was like, so the actual congestion in the main hall was much worse than, Anaheim or Chicago, and just in terms of the size of the convention center. But so, that's sort of my rating.
I'm going to temper this because we're in a different situation than most people. A lot of people didn't get they didn't get passes to any panels in that lottery system. So there were a lot of people who were really, really disappointed. And there were other people who got into everything. So, there definitely is more room to put more things up and to stream. I think they started to realize they needed to stream more things on the live stage as they went along. But there is more room, and they could have given more room to it. There's more room available that they could have paid for to spread things out. Particularly some of the areas were just so tight. Walking through Celebration, think about those aisles for Anaheim, they're probably half as wide.
We saw a couple of photos of the walkways, and there wasn't an inch to spare any direction. So we were kind of happy to be sitting on our couch.
Yeah, and it's nice because there's tons of places to eat. There's never a problem finding someplace to eat, which is not typical like you think at Anaheim, and you have to wait forever for a food truck. The food places, you could pretty much find something to eat with a 2 or 3 minute wait if you wanted to. Some people queued up for 20 minutes for Subway, but I was fine eating somewhere else. But that made it so much harder. And they put like the AT-AT and the TIE Fighter that they always bring in the middle of the hall, and just so different than Anaheim. Like they actually had like ratcheted down the AT-AT with like tie downs that you would use on a pickup truck. And so it was just like sitting in the middle of this walkway with it. Somebody had just, it felt like when you go to the state fair and you're not sure if you want to get on the ride. Like I never wanted to walk by that AT-AT. And then of course people want to do their cosplay things through the hall. So when you had the One Way Out cosplayers from Andor, it just shut everything down. That was it. Like you couldn't move.
Oh my gosh. And then I saw, like, when Hayden Christensen was on the live stage, like, just the masses of people. I think I saw a tweet that they had to actually shut down, like, entrance.
That was my tweet. Yeah. They had to they had to literally just stop people from coming in, because once people knew it was Hayden, we were in that general area at a booth and started to move that way. And it just, like, it got dangerous. Like, they just, but they knew. They had security out there and they knew that was going to happen. So kudos to them that it didn't. But I mean, it was just like a sea of people. Once they heard those screams for Hayden, it was just like everybody's like, whew. So.
Well, plus you get people stopping in the middle of a busy walkway to text or talk to a friend, which makes it even even more vicious bottleneck.
Richard, speaking of that, you'll really appreciate this. Several times on the celebration stage.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
No, DJ Elliott did a thing where he's like, everybody, this guy's making a phone call. Shh. And the whole thing went dead quiet. The entire arena went dead quiet. And then he would be like, so who are you talking to? And have the whole conversation with the one person who's trying to listen talk on the phone. It was very, very funny.
I thought you were going to say that plus all the backpacks made it even that much tighter.
I got backpack bumped a few times.
It wouldn't be a convention if you didn't get hit by a backpack 40 to 50 times a day.
Or a poster tube.
Yeah. So I guess that answers the question, how does this compare to other celebrations? But you know what? How do you compare it to, let's say, Celebration Anaheim last year, which I think a lot of people can relate with? It sounds like it had its pros and cons.
I like Anaheim better.
Yeah, but it sounds like the stages and Anaheim held twice as many, if not more.
Yeah.
I think more people got to see the panels they wanted to see in Anaheim because the facility was bigger. And so I think that, for the overall experience of the attendees, I think the Anaheim Convention Center provided a better environment and in terms of size, in terms of movability, things like that. So, obviously it had its own frustrations, like the store wasn't great that year and things like that. So there's pros and cons to every time they run it. But yeah, I mean, it was, I enjoyed these 4 days, but it wouldn't be in my, top 2 or 3 celebrations that we've been to.
Right. Now, the biggest complaint every single convention and celebration is the line management. People are always complaining about, and rightfully so, about how they're just so mismanaged and people are cutting and just not running as smoothly as it could or should be. Sometimes at D23, it's like, oh my God, the line management is perfect. And then you go to a celebration, like, what happened? What happened?
It's hard to judge here because there's so many Europeans at this con, and Europeans have this more sort of communal respect, I think, that a lot of Americans do. And so I think there was a lot less people that were trying to cut and act unfairly here than there were, that are in the U.S. cons.
The first day they said don't queue, and everybody was, of course, outside the building waiting to get in, and they wrapped the people down around to the train station and down the stairs. And then they were letting people in at 8:00 to the queue hall. And then so people had wrapped around, and then all of a sudden one guard decided to just reverse the people who were at the back of the line because they were snaked around. So it was like Celebration Orlando. Remember how a bunch of people got through and people who had waited ended up not getting in? That's the only time I ever saw. After that, they set up their queues pretty well, and they had this guy on the celebration stage. He just was like, move up. I want to see any space. I don't want, and he just he was on it, and everybody listened to him. He hustled people. So, and people listened to him. I think in America, people just don't listen in general.
Well, they're always on their cell phones. Well, and plus, to make it even worse, you're in England, so everyone's lining up on the other side. So you get the Americans, you get the English. I can see where the confusion would set in.
It is quite clear to me that English pedestrians also walk on the left, because that was definitely a traffic flow issue in the convention hall.
What was the percentage of Americans to Europeans at this convention, would you say?
based on what they said in the stages, when DJ Elliott would ask where people were from, I would say about maybe a third of the people were from America and 2/3 from Europe, and maybe half of those from the UK, and then the other, so maybe a third from America, a third from the UK, and a third from elsewhere in Europe.
Was there a master of ceremonies? There really hasn't been the last couple of years, whereas before it's been Warwick Davis or James Arnold Taylor.
It was Amy Radcliffe, would do the most of the big panels, but I would say that was who kind of filled that spot. But she was never really named like a master of ceremonies or anything like that. But she did the closing ceremony and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, she did the panels, but unlike James Arnold Taylor or Warwick Davis would kind of ingest their personality into different things. So, but that didn't happen here. Okay.
I kind of miss that.
I know, that was really fun.
Too.
Yeah. When James Arnold Taylor would do those photo op moments, or was that Warwick Davis? They do a photo op and recreate a scene from Return of the Jedi with an actor who happened to be on stage. I think it was James Arnold Taylor.
It was pretty much up to DJ Elliott to sort of on the celebration stage. And then there was a guy called Aussie Dave, who's a plaid shirt at Walt Disney World.
Oh.
And I didn't like him. He was kind of off-putting on the Galaxy stage. He was supposed to run it, but sometimes he just came off as rude. And the one weird thing that for Galaxy stage, I think the leaks of the big panel came from the Galaxy stage because they had a completely different rule set. They literally would not let you pick up your phone to even text or tweet or anything on that stage. And then they'd be showing footage of the celebration stage and you could see the people with their phones up. So there was a completely different standard on that stage. It was the stage manager set how it was going to run, as opposed to you can't video when footage comes up, as opposed to literally they wouldn't let you pick your phone up for anything. And then they backed off that a little bit. It was one day, so there was a little inconsistency, but yeah, DJ Elliott as always he's a fun guy, and but yeah, the Galaxy stages they could do with somebody else. That's my opinion.
Is the Galaxy stage the biggest stage or the second largest?
Celebration, then Galaxy stage, then Twin Suns stage.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, in every single bit of footage I saw, everyone had their phones up during everything.
Yeah.
And
unless you were on the Galaxy stage.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, okay, so even though it was kind of crowded and tight sometimes, there must have been some amazing cosplay. And now that we've gotten some new shows and things, was there any cosplay that stood out to you, either creatively or just awesome, or just please share, both of you?
Or obscure.
Yeah, that too.
Well, there was a Death Star was it yesterday? That one was kind of cute. It was just what did it say on it? It was so
I don't remember.
Oh.
I'm drawing a blank. There was a guy today that was in a stormtrooper costume with a cardboard sign that said, "Both of my homes got blown up. Need a hug."
Very, very smart.
There was also a guy in a Jabba the Hutt costume that he was committed to it because he was waddling, he could literally only move his feet this much. And imagine to go from one end of a convention to the other end, and I was behind him, and then he was holding a sign that said, I give you one free Jabba the Hutt. And he was just holding to the side, waddling in this costume. I mean, he could literally move his feet 1 foot, foot's worth forward at a time.
Oh, for 2 celebrations, I was Jabba the Hutt in that big inflatable costume.
It was inflatable. Yeah.
It's a fun idea until you gotta move more than 3 steps.
Exactly. I loved that there was a gazillion Narkinify prisoners. Somebody must be selling the costume. And then I saw that some people had a turquoise stripe instead of the orange stripe. And one lady had run with that and she had done herself in a purple Twi'lek. So perhaps the blue prisoners were Twi'leks at blue stripe prisoners were Twi'leks at another facility, and the humans would have been all at Narkina 5 type of thing. And so I really like that. And then they all had fun with it, obviously running through the hall, screaming one way out. As a matter of fact, there were a bunch of them who weren't in the Andor panel who were running around, and you could hear them in the Andor panel screaming one way out. And they were not in the panel, which there was tons of them already in the panel seated in the front. So that I appreciate. And I'm going to recommend, if you want to cosplay, that's the cosplay to do. Everybody looked comfortable. Don't do it barefoot. There were a lot of people who were barefoot. I was like, no.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, I do have a question about that, because you guys were in the Andor panel. And because I know that at one point the One Way Out guys ran around, and did they get up on stage with Andy Serkis? Yeah. So when did that happen during the panel?
There are two things that happened. So as the celebration stage was filling to do that panel, they pulled all the Narkina 5 prisoners aside and said, we're having you queue in a separate line. So they let them in first so they could sit in the front. And then before the panel started, DJ Elliott brought all those Narkina 5 prisoners up on stage. They took a big picture. They did the One Way Out chant. The audience did a One Way Out chant. And then, so Andy Serkis didn't come out for that. But then, so the other footage of him doing the One Way Out is when he did the live stage.
Oh.
And so him getting the crowd to do the One Way Out chant was when he was on the live stage, not in the actual panel itself. Because the panel didn't have any of the actors. Diego's a producer, right? Yeah.
Right.
It didn't have any of the talent. It only had the creatives and the producer types on it. So Andy was not actually a panelist on that panel.
Okay, got it. But I think Diego Luna came out.
Yes, he
with
did.
The One Way Out people. Okay.
Maybe that was.
Yeah, he dropped out. He came out real quickly and then left. And Ewan did similar in the Kenobi panel. He surprised them. So I don't think Ewan posed for a picture though. He just sort of walked out, looked at them, and left.
It was actually very funny because Diego came out with. You're right. Diego came out with the Narkina cosplayers, and they brought all the Obi-Wan cosplayers before the Obi-Wan panel, and Ewan came out. And it was great because they already had it up on the big screen, and you could see the faces of these cosplayers when they realized Ewan had come onto the stage, just basically to run along the front of all the cosplayers and sort of wave at them. And even the sort of stage crew were freaked out. And then today they had a Bad Batch cosplay group that they brought on stage before the Bad Batch panel, and D. Bradley Baker came out to shake hands with them. And so, 3 of the days, like they got to meet one of the actors that they were, working with. So it was pretty neat.
And did they throw then Tech off the stage after that?
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
I have to say that, and I think it was live stream with the Bad Batch panel, there was genuine emotion from all the panelists about that storytelling choice. So I feel like it wasn't made lightly that it happened, but it was like when they played the footage before the panel started, they played the footage and they ended with Tech, doing the fall, and everybody, the whole room was like you could just tell it was too soon.
It was a week ago or two. I don't know. Yeah, it was so sad. Aww.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
I appreciate the Narkina 5 run, but I prefer the Hoojib hop.
I didn't see any Hoojibs hopping, but there were a lot of Hoojibs around as far as different merchandise and whatnot.
What?
we might have to interrupt this episode.
So Richard, Sarah, do you want to show Sarah her gift
we'll
first?
show Sarah first.
Oh.
So Sarah, we got you a little gift.
Oh,
it's the Ahsoka shirt. Oh my goodness.
This is the one that Dave Filoni was wearing. Ahsoka and Sabine.
Richard, I know you're really jealous, but we didn't forget you because Sunday was Hoojib Day for Easter at the store. So we got you this t-shirt. It's a custom print, the custom shirts they do, and Yeah, Jackson was the character of the day, so that's your shirt that's coming to you.
And they have Star Wars Celebration on it with Jackson.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. Glenn Stein had mentioned that on Facebook. It's like, what are you talking about? Jackson shirt. That's too good to be true.
I thought that was a great tie-in. They had a Hujib pin in the store as well.
Oh, well, thank you guys. That's so sweet. Oh.
See, hashtag make Hujibs canon.
I know.
And
wow.
And there you go. Oh wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right, now let's reel it back to Friday.
Yes.
For the Lucasfilm Studio Showcase panel.
Woo.
This, I think we had to take the day off.
Yeah.
With all the news and reveals.
Well, first of all, we woke up. Should we just talk about maybe the Ahsoka trailer first? Because we woke up on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing we saw starting our day. And man, did that put me in a good mood.
Yeah, well, actually, the first thing I saw was 3 new Star Wars films coming. It's like, okay, fast forward. The chances are that this ain't happening. So yeah, we'll go with the Ahsoka trailer and then go back because we know how this is going to turn out.
Because we know Ahsoka's coming, you guys. Mm-hmm. We know it.
Yes, we do. I think you guys encapsulated pretty much what you would hear people say, because you always have your own kind of like. But even there was one person who tweeted like only one person. Like she says, I felt like I was the only one clapping when Daisy Ridley came out. So I think there was like not because people were, I just think they're so expecting now that you see these timelines and these, title cards. This time we didn't even get titles. So people are even less they're just kind of like, okay, we'll wait until until it's on a movie screen.
In theory, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Daisy Ridley is here. Okay, great. But will this actually happen?
Yeah,
like it's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what Lucasfilm is stuck in right now.
Yeah, Daisy, have a plan B. Because plan A ain't probably ain't happening.
I know. I mean, I love Daisy Ridley, but I just feel like everybody, that was pretty much the sentiment, was the 3 movie announcements was the least exciting thing of that panel.
Reason being,
that was probably.
All right, since we're already here, let's do this, and then I'm
let's
going
do
to the
it,
Ahsoka trailer.
Okay.
The Ahsoka trailer we can get excited for because we know it's going to happen.
Yes.
Ahsoka is going to happen. So for the 3 films coming, we have one by James Mangold, and they did name this film Dawn of the Jedi.
Yep.
And we know this is probably going to go through just because it's James Mangold, and so far there's been no complaints about Indiana Jones 5. They haven't had anyone come in and do reshoots or anything to that effect.
Basically, he can work with Lucasfilm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's James Mangold. Well, then again, they've already canceled the James Mangold Obi-Wan film a while back, so you can see where this is heading.
I don't think it's going to happen. and I'll tell you why. I feel very much like this is like the Rian Johnson's going to make 3 more movies announcement. He hasn't even written it, and there's a lot of reasons why I don't think they want to go to this future without a little bit more of, I just have no confidence that movie will happen. I feel like this was trying to announce him before Indy came, and I mean, maybe Indy will be great. That's a totally different thing. But he's wanted. He was actually the one that they dropped and leaked that he was doing Boba Fett movie, and then it didn't happen. But Kathleen Kennedy said in interviews that were done on Friday that he's always wanted to do this. He's wanted to do a Star Wars. He's been asking for it, but it's not even written. So I just feel like this is an area when they really start talking about it that they don't want to go there yet. I think people want to see it, but they really need to talk about it and plan it. And it's just like, this feels like it's been, let's get him on the books because he wants to write it. But I don't see this movie happening.
Now, I'm confused. What is the next Star Wars film that's supposed to come out in 2025?
So that's what's interesting about the, I mean, to be, explain what happened. We did not get in the lottery. We didn't get tickets for the showcase. So we did arrive early to see if we could have any chance of getting on standby lines. And we just didn't get there quite early enough. So we didn't make the standby line. So we ended up going shopping in the exhibit hall and got a lot of other things done that morning. And so we were watching the live tweets come through that morning of what was getting announced. But it was very obvious as I was watching the tweets, and Tricia was doing some shopping and I was watching the tweets, no titles, no sort of like official titles, like Star Wars : something, right? Like no official titles, no release dates, just these are the next 3 movies are going to be, James Mangold's sort of far past movie, and then the Daisy Ridley post Rise of Skywalker movie, and then the Dave Filoni movie, but that like didn't even not which order they would be in, not nothing other than that. So that's what's very strange, right? Is that it's interesting. I mean, I think it's interesting that they chose to set this narrative. We're not announcing a new trilogy. We're announcing 3 more standalone movies, and that's I think important to set that expectation. But yeah, I mean, they didn't say, I mean, the scuttlebutt on the trades and stuff has been that what formerly was the Damon Lindelof movie and is now was it Stephen Knight? Is that his name? Stephen Knight written movie with the Charmaine, I can't pronounce her last name, the lady who worked on Ms. Marvel.
Obi Chinoy, yeah.
Yes, yeah, she's the director and this new writer. And then they brought out Daisy Ridley to be the Jedi Master character in that movie. So by all accounts, that movie has a script that's getting rewrites.
She said 6 weeks. Kathleen Kennedy said 6 weeks in an interview on Friday.
Yeah,
that it would be 6 weeks until that script was done, but that's a rewrite of Lindelof's script. So in theory, that would be the one that would be the first one up. But it has to get rewritten and approved by Disney to go into production in time to get a 2025 movie, which is what we would be expecting. And 2027 would be an anniversary year.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but there's a 0% chance that Dave Filoni has a script, right? I mean, he's still working on Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And as you were saying about Mangold, I mean, they just got the MPAA rating, like 10 days ago or something like that. So the movie just locked.
Indiana.
For Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
For Dial of Destiny. So he obviously hasn't written even a first draft of his movie yet either. So the only if there's going to be a 2025 movie, the only realistic possibility is the Rey movie, because these other 2 projects that were announced have to be multiple years off, just simply because of where they could be development wise. Neither of them have scripts.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any, we know that John Boyega has been out there. He must have known this because he's been actively saying, I'm not doing Star Wars anymore for the last 2 months. He's done interviews and said, I am not doing Star Wars. So.
Well, Daisy Ridley said that too.
I know, and he may change, but I feel like he said that for a reason. So it'd probably be they'd have to give him a script that he was willing to do. And it's hard to see what I think that a lot of people, the talk was they expect to see Rey and Grogu. And if that's the plan, there's no way Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are letting them lock in something that happens to Grogu in 2 years, because they want to do whatever happens to Grogu in their super event. So I think they're trying to do that new Jedi Order with that movie, but they're literally doing what a lot of people wanted to see with Luke and his Jedi, now moving it along. So it'll be interesting if they look at it in 6 weeks and go, yeah, this is ready to go.
Right.
Right now, Taika Waititi's at home going, hey, guys, hello? Did you forget about me?
Well, Richard, the stuff we overheard, it's in the in the convention hall and in restaurants and stuff, I think was very much the vibe you expressed a few minutes ago, which is people were much more excited to talk about what they saw from Andor in that panel, Andor season 2, what they saw from Acolyte. There was a lot of excitement about Acolyte and how that ties into the High Republic. And the Vernestra Rowe, the character from the books that's in the movie, right? That's a lot of excitement for that we saw. I think certain crowd was very excited about Skeleton Crew, seeing that it's very much an Amblin Goonies style movie in Star Wars, and thought that was really exciting. And what was the last project to talk about? Oh, and then a little bit about Mandalorian and Ahsoka. So, there was just, I heard a lot more conversation about those other projects that everyone knows are happening.
Yep.
Because they're either done or being filmed, or either in post or currently being filmed. And a lot less, you would think that at a convention like this, they announced 3 new Star Wars movies, that would be what everyone's talking about for the next 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's not what was happening. People were talking about that. There was much more conversation about the Disney Plus shows than there was about the movies.
You know what this sounds like to me is the movies anyway. You know the D23 Expo where they had the Imagineers come out and talk about blue sky, about what could happen in the Disney parks, and they announced like a villain's land and a whatever, and people were all going nuts, or Zootopia, right? In Dino Land or something. And people were like, oh my gosh. But then they realized, oh no, this is blue sky. So this could not even happen. It's just, they just put it out there because they needed to fill some space in the studio showcase panel.
Well, I hope they go back. Kathleen Kennedy looks back at the panel and go, how come no one was applauding these films? And take a deep dive into, because of all the times we had to cancel an announcement, or not even cancel, just throw it away and hope no one remembers the Rian Johnsons, the Kevin Feiges, and even Sean Levy is in there. But right now he's doing a couple of Deadpool movies, and we talked to someone who works with Sean Levy, and he said yes, he is planning to do a Star Wars film. However, he's got a couple of Deadpool movies to do first, and then something else, and then Star Wars. It's like, okay, so it ain't happening then.
Well, and I think that's the thing in the Friday interviews. I shared some of them. The IGN interview with Kathleen Kennedy is really interesting. She makes a point of saying that they're like, oh, you have a bunch of canceled projects, and she kind of bowed up to that question and she was like, everything's still in, Taika's still happening, and all the things that people like. She was very much like, no, that's just the way the business works, and they're all in the pipeline. Nothing's been canceled. We still want to work with Ryan. He's just really busy. Blah 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 blah. So in her mind, it's just different because I think it's because she's a producer and we're fans. So when we hear, like, producers say buzzwords all the time and mention movies all the time, and it's just a different language, and fans hear you say something and they expect it, right? If you announce it, they want to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
It only makes sense if you announce something, then fulfill that promise.
I agree. I think she has yet to figure out kind of how the fans work versus how she operates as.
If she doesn't know this by now, then maybe let's bring George back.
Well, as George said he was going to do it, he did it eventually. So, he wasn't going to say I'm doing the prequel trilogy until he was ready. So,
yeah.
All right, now let's talk about something that is happening, like Ahsoka, coming this August 2023.
So this trailer, like we said, we woke up to it. It's like the first thing we watched on Friday. When were you guys able to watch this trailer?
It dropped right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we watched it. Well, Tricia had her laptop because she was has to do a little work here and there. So we watched it on the laptop screen in the queue hall waiting for the Andor panel.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we saw it again on the Ahsoka panel. So
nice.
With a little bit extra content mixed in. So yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that in a couple of seconds. But give us your reactions to this trailer, which we saw like 10 times before we actually saw it for the first time. We were so excited every single time that we didn't really take anything in until we had to keep on rewatching it.
It's very Dave. I think he knows what's going to excite people as far as what they're going to see. And we had already seen those hints, obviously, of Hera, and very attached to all the characters, Ahsoka, Hera, and Sabine. So to me, I couldn't even absorb that I saw it was a big three of all women. To me, that was like I couldn't get past that. And then I realized that the two of the villains were also women, and there was just like one dude character and then the back of Thrawn's head. So I was like, what's happening? And then you just started to kind of absorb like all the cool ways that like the Ahsoka stuff tied into things we'd seen, like the swirling to drop down, which had come from the Clone Wars season 7 and that kind of stuff. Just all those little things. I just thought it was just that kind of visual and energy of it was very, but they've cut so many good trailers for Rebels and even the Clone Wars that I'm not shocked that it sort of blew us away.
What about you, BJ?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because after watching it a couple of times, my reaction was very much like Tricia's from a slightly different angle, which is it's very Dave in that you feel like you saw a lot, but you saw nothing. Right? Like there's like 4 or 5 different shots when you look at it, like Ahsoka's on that like industrial planet. And the one point she jumps out the window and then she lands on the ground and there's a fight scene there and there's something, she's fighting an Inquisitor looking person there. So you get a lot of exciting moments, but in a very small number of like Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth are on the same bridge, like a starship looking bridge. So, he's actually not revealing very much, but yet it feels like there's so much because you get to see Ahsoka doing a lot of things. You get Hera, Sabine. We meet these two different lightsaber wielding bad guys. We see Morgan Elsbeth. We knew Thrawn, but you see the back of Thrawn's head, and a couple little space battles, couple of lightsaber fights, some talking. You see Mon Mothma. So there's really just get a lot of these little quickly cut things to give you a sense of who you're going to see in the story, but very little about what the story actually is. And I think that's very, very Dave. And I think he also was confident that enough people know the Rebel stuff. They know the basic gist of the story. And there's a quick shot of Sabine looking at the Ezra hologram, right? So he's just basically telling you, if you know, you know.
Yes.
This is going to be getting Thrawn and Ezra back. And if you don't recognize those almost the borderline Easter eggs, right? If you don't really understand their importance, then it still looks like, okay, this is what you can get Star Wars. You're going to get space battles and lightsaber fights and Ahsoka, who's an important character who you probably know about, even if you haven't watched all the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah. I know for me, what struck me is the very first image of the trailer. It's like Ahsoka in between 2 pillars. It's like very much mimicking the shot where she walked away from the Jedi Temple. The exact same, what is that called?
Mise en scène.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
I love
Kurosawa, right? It's just straight out of that, which,
yeah,
he used in the episode The Jedi of season 2, The Mandalorian, that look too.
Yeah. So the whole trailer, I'm watching it, and to me, like, I feel Dave is very good at this. He's good at speaking to specific fandoms. Like the Star Wars Rebels is so like nostalgic for us now. Like we've all kind of come up through Star Wars Rebels, and we're able to meet all the actors and all the producers and writers of Star Wars Rebels. So we are just so connected to that. And then you have Ahsoka saying Thrawn as heir to the Empire, using the actual title of the actual book that got me like into my Star Wars fandom. Like I was just like freaking out and like shaking.
We heard like, the amazing roar of the audience here in Long Beach, California.
But I was like so jazzed by this trailer. And then you see Ahsoka spinning around. Like for me, I didn't even register that it was like mostly women. It was just like this whole nostalgia to Rebels aspect and nostalgia to the whole Legends novels to me. So just, I've been wanting to see Thrawn for so long, like in live action. I just think it's amazing. And then knowing that Dave consulted with Timothy Zahn as well on the Thrawn character, like I just think that's so cool. And I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
It's funny because when they first announced episode 7, like a lot of people said that Heir to the Empire was what it was going to be in some form, not necessarily straight up adapted. And I feel like we're kind of going back to that era. and there was enough of Dave Filoni interviews and times he talked about it that they mentioned him and Jon Favreau, Star Wars Legends, Star Wars Legends, Star Wars Expanded Universe. They said those words. They said there's a lot of things, and there's some deliberate choices of things he picked that he's mining from the Expanded Universe. And he grew up reading the books, and that was his fandom. He made a point of saying he was cosplaying Plo Koon and making it, and went to San Diego Comic-Con before he started work at with George Lucas and gotten hired.
I met him as Plo Koon at the Revenge of the Sith screening.
Do you have a picture? Because he said there's some people.
I do.
And you were dressed as Grievous.
I was
right?
Grievous, and I was talking to him for quite a while as Plo Koon. And he was with his friend as Kit Fisto. But this is way.
You mentioned him too.
Yeah, and I verified that at one of the screenings, a press conference. I said, okay, was that you as Plo Koon at the ArcLight Theater in Hollywood on the eve of the Revenge of the Sith screening in Hollywood? He said, yeah, that was me. It's like, remember me? I was General Grievous. And he did remember. So one thing I'm looking forward to is Balin. This is one of the new Jedis, the new Dark Jedi. Don't know if he's a Sith or not, but I'm not sure of this scene where he's walking through the corridor and he's pretty much replicating the Rogue One Darth Vader scene. Mm-hmm. I like when they can call back to something, but when it's so direct, I'm not a fan of that. Like in the Clone Wars, how many times did we hear, I've got a bad feeling about this? Like, okay, you did it 5 times. We get it. It's funny, but let's not keep on repeating itself. But I am looking forward to these new Dark Jedis. We have Ray Stevenson as Balin Skoll and Shin Hati, played by Ivana Sacco. And they were at the Ahsoka panel, and Ivana just seemed like the antithesis of her character, because she came out all jumping and so excited. I'm excited about all these characters. However, what do we feel about Mary Elizabeth Winstead playing Hera?
I thought she looked great. And so I'll just say from the panel, she mentioned that she was everybody's mom. So, we call Vanessa Marshall the space mom. So she had definitely been briefed and understood that character was meant to be not just an admiral, which her markings show in the trailer, she's an admiral now, but that also that she's very maternal to a protector in this story. Like she understood that that's kind of the character's role.
Okay.
I'm curious that we didn't see Jason Syndulla.
Yes.
Kanan and Hera's son, or any mention. So I don't know if that's something that's coming or what, but we didn't see it. So I was curious if he'll be in the show or not.
Oh, he'll definitely be in the show, played by Zendaya. I asked just because the few shots of Hera, I'm so used to Vanessa Marshall taking the lead, and her voice quality just says Hera Syndulla. But I just didn't get that I know we only saw 1 or 2 shots, so I got to reserve judgment. But from what I've seen so far, and I've seen this a couple of times, people saying, yeah, let's bring Vanessa Marshall back.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to not miss those people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all felt the same way with Ashley Eckstein playing Ahsoka.
Right.
Now more people are like, okay, Rosario Dawson.
I mean, Rosario Dawson won me over at the Celebration Live stage in 2022. I actually saw her.
Yeah.
We saw her live, and she just had such this presence to her, this assurance, this quality that Ahsoka would have. And I feel like that's why they cast her.
It was very noticeable at the panel that both Natasha and Mary talked in depth about having watched Rebels and having done their research on these characters and really wanting to, because they're knowing who these characters were before, because they're playing these characters a good, almost 10 years probably after we last saw them in Rebels, right? I mean, the Rebels and season 4 of Rebels ends sort of on the cusp of A New Hope.
Yeah, just about 10 years.
This is, about 10 years later. So they're a different, evolved, more mature iteration of the character, but you can't understand your character if you don't know where they came from. And Rosario talked about this. She specifically name checked Ashley and how important Ashley's origination of the character was. And all three of them, sort of called that out as something that they wanted to know, everything about what had happened to the character before, so they could understand who they are and why they would do what they're doing in the Ahsoka show. So it was really noticeable that, sometimes you have people come in and sort of come to Star Wars and kind of, I want to do my own thing, right? And this was the opposite of that. This was, I want to come in and make sure that I'm taking this loved character and pushing it forward in a way that is moving it forward, but very much honors what the previous performers did. And that was really, really powerful. And Dave made a reference to that too at one point. I forget, was that in the Clone Wars panel? I think?
Yeah, I was much more won over after listening to Mary talk on the panel, just what she said. So hopefully she'll get more of those type of things to kind of see, so more people would see it and be like, oh yeah, I think she's got this. So I felt like it was interesting because she had less to say, but I feel like Hera's going to be there, but not as big a role. She's a crucial role in the story, but it's definitely the Sabine and Ahsoka journey that's going to happen.
That's very reassuring. Now, in the Ahsoka panel, they played the remixed trailer. So what did we miss in this trailer?
The Purrgils, they fly up against them. That's the closing shot. So we see them fly, kind of like fly. I think this is like the Star Tours setup, because they did announce that they're redoing Star Tours. So it's kind of that shot where you would be like flying up on instead of like Grogu, we saw him kind of by them. This would be like flying into them, kind of.
Oh, I will lose it.
I will lose it. Purrgils.
So as soon as they said the new Star Tours stuff, I was like, I felt Star Tours in that closing shot. So then I was like, okay, I don't know. That's sort of the vibe I got from it. And there's also, in Rebels on Lothal, in the first season where they have the city in that long kind of highway that they
from Ezra's tower into the city.
Really long. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sabine is flying on, I believe it's Ezra's scooter, his speeder bike. And there is a downed craft. And originally I said I thought it was an X-Wing, but it's been pretty confirmed, but it's an E-Wing that's down on that road, and she slides it and goes underneath the bottom of the E-Wing on the speeder bike. That's kind of, and in the shot for the Purrgil, she has her short purple hair also. So that's from the closer to the Rebels
era
series finale era. But in the shot with the speeder bike, she has the longer hair that is obviously time has passed and she's beyond purple and now I think into her orange and pink and red stage with her hair. So that you see most of the time in the trailer. And then obviously we saw Thrawn.
So yeah, two other things that were interesting that we saw. One is they gave us the cut with Thrawn's face. Which of course, yes. Which meant
amazing.
The following 15 seconds, nobody heard it the first time through because everyone was screaming having seen Thrawn's face. And then, of course, and you could tell it was Lars Mikkelsen. I mean, it was immediately recognizable. And then they brought him out on the stage, after that. So that was just, there wasn't any dialogue with it or anything. It was just seeing his face in the shot. And then the other thing that was very cool was seeing Sabine use Ezra's lightsaber to fight Shin.
Whoa. And Shin is played by Ivana Sacco. Okay.
By
She's
Ivana
the blonde,
Sacco, yeah.
The blonde.
Yeah, and
okay.
Yeah, and they have people pretty much, it's an orange blade, not a red blade that they're both carrying, and there's some EU perhaps tie-ins to that. Also, that E-Wing is from the EU. It has some heavy RPG, and then it was in what was the
Dark Empire. Like that, I think.
And the E-Wing was the replacement for the X-Wing fighters.
Yes, that's right. So there's some, again, nods visually in the stuff to the EU with those orange blades and with the E-Wing, and obviously Thrawn showing up finally back in the game. And I just feel like yeah, there were just a little, there was extended, some things were just a little bit more extended, but that's pretty much the big things. And the green lightsaber was, exciting because she's used the dark saber. And so she's sort of learned how to wield a weapon like this. But it looks like it's probably in that time when you see her looking at the hologram, it feels like that's in that same kind of time frame that happens.
And again, we only saw it twice, so it's hard to know for sure, but I think it might be that Shin has tracked Sabine down to Ezra's tower on Lothal. Because it looks to me like she's that Shin is arriving there, right? And Sabine has basically come out of the door of that tower onto that kind of balcony area. And that it looks to me like that's where the fight starts. So, yeah, it's pretty neat.
So there's only 10% more footage in this remix trailer?
Yeah, it's a very just little bits. It maybe was 20 seconds longer than what you guys saw.
Yeah, it was not, but that was basically everything that was different.
Thrawn's face was essentially enough for you to register and scream. You could, if you followed it, you knew that was Lars. And even though he's been denying it, and I know people keep saying he denies it, I'm like, Andrew Garfield denied Spider-Man for 2 years. So people just leave the actors alone and don't say they, you ask them that question, they have to say no. And the best part was he looked like it was such a burden off of him to come out and finally get to, be it and, all that stuff. So that was cool.
And how did he sound? Did he talk about the character at all?
No, not really. He essentially got to say, "It's so great to be here," and he was tearing up.
The one comment he had the one comment he had that was really, I thought, because he didn't say much because he can't say much, was he said he's never worked on a project where everyone involved was so passionate about getting it right for you all. Sort of talking to the audience, right? So passionate about getting it right for you all. So it was really, you could tell he was, moved by, not just by getting to be there, but by understanding, how important it was to the fans that this be great.
It's so weird because these people who play these really dark characters like Anakin and, Ian and then now Lars, he's just all emotional and he seems so sweet, but then, he opens his mouth and you can hear the timbre of his voice is so perfect for Thrawn. Just when he says the word, you're like, I'm scared when he talks. Just in his normal voice, but it's kind of cool that all those people are so seem like genuinely kind, cool people, but then they can harness these really evil characters that scare us to death.
Having just rewatched Rebels, I found myself lost in his voice because he's just so slow and methodical. And the slower someone speaks, the more scared you should be.
And the more you listen and wait.
Take everything in.
Mm-hmm.
Very almost Vader cadence at times. All right, now let's go into the Acolytes.
Which will be released, they announced 2024. Now, this is the first time we learned a lot more information about this. We have the series creator, Leslie Headland, who is the co-creator of Russian Doll.
Which we gotta watch.
Is now on our list. Yeah.
And co-created by Amy Poehler as well. How did we miss this?
I know. Crazy. So this series will take place in the High Republic era, which is about 100 years before Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And it'll explore the dark side of the Force. So
they showed a clip.
Yeah.
Not a trailer, right?
Right.
It's the clip.
But you guys didn't see this.
No, we didn't see that.
Well,
okay.
Maybe, but.
All right. So we have, the clip, we were told has lots of martial arts in it. And it follows Amanda Stenberg is the main character who I think basically it sounds like she's a Jedi, but she kind of gets into this dark side.
I mean, the pitch is it's the first story told from the villain's point of view in Star Wars, right? That's kind of how they presented it. And so it's it's weird because they're, supposed to be in the High Republic era, but then they kind of, the talking points were a little bit more that it's not that far away from, it's far away from the prequel trilogy, but it's maybe closer to that in tone. But there was a lot of excitement for it and in the convention. So, a lot of people have been waiting for it and wanting to see stuff. So that was the general reaction that they're ready to go. I will say, I don't know that watching Russian Doll will make people more excited for the Acolyte, unless you're just really into like prestige weird TV. Like I appreciate it, but I don't know that it would turn people on to the show, if that makes sense. It's a very heady storytelling.
I was excited to hear that Junus gets to play the Wookiee Jedi Master.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a really neat, when you got somebody who's playing Wookiees and who loves Star Wars. And so I thought that was a neat choice. And then, Leslie Headland also did a live stage interview that I've seen a couple clips of, but haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing. So I'm definitely want to make time to see what she says. But the other thing that's interesting, tying into what we were mentioning a few minutes ago, is, and even in some of the interviews she had done over the past couple of years, Leslie Headland, again, grew up reading the novels, grew up playing the Star Wars, the West End role-playing game, created her own characters. I'm pretty sure fanficker as well, created her own characters, created her own stories, and is bringing that kind of sensibility. Basically, we're now getting the Gen Xers finally getting to tell the stories, right? Even Tony Gilroy is a young boomer, really, right? Yeah. Like, so you're finally getting these Gen Xers who grew up, maybe old enough to have seen the OT or have memories of the OT from when they were very young, but sort of grew up with in the 90s, with the books and the comics and like us, and so I think, again, I agree with Tricia. I've watched Russian Doll. I haven't watched season 2, but I watched season 1 of Russian Doll. It was very well written, very well directed. It's got time loops and time travel and sort of Groundhog Day dynamics to it. So it's very cerebral. Not at all, Star Wars is often an optimistic, hopeful story, and Russian Doll is very, very much not that kind of story. I'm not saying that's what Acolyte's going to be, but I'm just saying, it's very, she seems to be quite obviously, very talented at what she does. So we'll see what, again, we'll see how it comes through, but it's exciting, and she was obviously, one of the things I saw too is that she grew up with the EU books, but apparently she's also put a lot of time into synergizing now with the new High Republic stuff. And so it's cool to have a storyteller who's actively interested in synergizing other material instead of running it over in the driveway. So that's cool.
To make a point, J.J. Abrams is Gen Xer, but I think he's a fan of what Star Wars inspired him as a filmmaker and not so much a fan of, he never talked about like playing the role-playing games, or he was like always carrying around his camera and playing with it. So everything that JJ started with was like, I want it to feel like the film that I saw, as opposed to like it kind of inhabiting, which you get from Leslie and Dave Filoni, and that kind of energy.
Inhabiting the myth of it, inhabiting the myth of Star Wars.
Obviously, Tony Gilroy didn't, but there's something about what Tony Gilroy kind of latched onto, the idea of oppression and hope that we heard mentioned a lot of times for different people, even on the Visions panel, that those two kind of opposing forces, good and evil, oppression and hope, were the words that came out from. So it's not that you can't, but it's different. Yeah, I think if you just think of Star Wars as a film, and then you have people who really kind of inhabited it for much of their life and their youth, and it's like in their bones.
I do want to say that we were able to watch a lot of the live stream on the live stage, and we saw this interview by Amanda Stenberg. And for one thing, she's like my new favorite addition to Star Wars right now, because for one thing, she came onto that panel cosplaying. as Padme in the white outfit with the white or the off-white shawl.
And all the hair braids.
And her hair braid. She looked amazing. And then she got on the live stage and started talking, and the love of Star Wars just poured out of her pores. Like, it wasn't just her mouth. It was like her whole being. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited that someone like this is going to be a role model and a person in Star Wars. Like, I'm just so excited.
Yeah, it's exciting because we were just talking about the original trilogy actors, and a lot of their answers are, I did it for the paycheck. I got paid. I don't remember. I was at a big soundstage, and it's like, well, you're at a celebration. We're all excited for Star Wars to celebrate it. Don't give me those answers. Lie to me. Lie to my face. Be a Dave Filoni and lie to me.
Mm-hmm. So if you haven't checked out Amanda Stenberg on the live stage, make sure you do it because you will fall in love.
Yeah, she has Diego Luna's energy. Like, when he comes and talks, like, I feel like that same kind of, he's just like, I love this. And that's kind of what I felt from her.
Yeah, from the Clone Wars onward.
Yeah.
Every actor knows what it's like in our shoes, and they want to make sure it's just as exciting for us. And if they're excited, we're going to be excited. And they generally are excited because they grew up with Star Wars, and now they're in Star Wars. How can you not be excited?
Can I talk about one other actress who I felt brought that energy?
Sure.
Was Vivian
Blair? Little
yes,
Leia.
Vivian Lyra. She, on that Kenobi panel, she is Leia. I mean, they cast her, I mean, so well spoken, just and Ewan complimented her because her favorite scene was the scene when she talks to him about are you my father?
Oh, yes.
When they're
like traveling in that little
on the back of the flatbed.
There you go. Yeah.
And he says, he complimented her like she actually acted in that scene. Like, he was acting with a child, and typically he would have to carry the load of the scene. But that she knew exactly, like, she could describe, she was verbalizing. I understood the pain in that moment of the being in the dark and wanting to, like, the way she could just verbalize it as a human being of that age to say it. And I'm like, somehow Carrie found this girl, and she got it. Like, she was just in love and I hope they get to do more things with her, because she was just like, that energy. I was like, oh, it's not just that they managed to work it out of her in the, and manufacture it, and she really is that, and loves the franchise.
Yeah, if this little girl did not have media training, I give her so much more respect, because of the way she could really formulate thoughts and the way she expressed thoughts. And it wasn't like someone had trained her. It's just coming from a 8 or 9 year old.
She didn't have cue cards. She didn't have a teleprompter.
She
was up there on that panel talking extemporaneously. I mean, she's obviously thought about this stuff before, so it's not like she's talking spontaneously.
Right.
But she's still talking extemporaneously on these really deep themes.
Yeah.
And it was really impressive, really genuinely impressive. I mean, having raised a kid that age, right? I mean, the conversation she was having about her work was phenomenal.
And now cut to the little actor who played Luke Skywalker at home going, guys, my phone's working. My phone's turned on. You couldn't have thrown me a bone, just had me on.
What's funny about the end of that Kenobi panel is Ewan McGregor kind of teased. He's like, and I would love to do more Star Wars. And there was like this breath, like, are you going to announce something?
And now so many websites have taken that and run with it. Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 coming soon from Ewan McGregor. He confirmed it. Like, he confirmed nothing.
No. There was a moment they could have.
Kathleen Kennedy actually had said there was nothing in an interview the day before. So when he kind of teased that, I felt like it was that vibe of, I'd like to see you go woohoo in the audience, so that people he would love to. And they would all love to. And they're just trying to convince other people that would be worth the opportunity to do it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, another big announcement that was not announced, but everyone's running with, was Andor Season 2 coming in August 2024. No, Tony Gilroy said, well, we're going to end shooting in 2023 in August, so I guess 2024 is when Season 2. Now, everyone's running with, this is the release date for Andor Season 2. It's like, no, he was just throwing that out there. He wasn't confirming anything.
Yeah.
And this was during that little Andor. I guess we should move on to from the Acolyte to the Andor Season 2, where it wasn't that long, and I didn't see anything from Alan Tudyk, who's coming back as K2SO. Did we miss something?
No, and he was not mentioned on the full panel. They didn't say a lot about it Andor during the showcase, obviously, because they were having a full panel later the same day just about that. But it was, he was, K2S, I don't know if K2 was mentioned. I don't think he was mentioned. Yeah. Alan Tudyk by name was not mentioned. And I mean, most of the panel the Andor panel was the look back at season 1 more than the look forward to season 2, but they did talk some about it. And including they had the costume designer there and the composer there. Yes. And both of them made some references to, how the evolution of the characters in the second season is influencing their costume design and the music in that second season relative, building from the first season into the second season. But no mention of Tudyk.
Odd. Okay. Now, where you were, did you see the clips that they ran, or is that secretive too?
No, they didn't show. I've seen them, but they didn't show them publicly.
Yeah, we saw the Andor teaser.
On the second day. We didn't see it at the.
No, we didn't see it at the showcase, but yes, they did re-air the season 2 teaser from the showcase. They did rebroadcast that to the making of Andor season 1 panel. Right.
Was it a teaser trailer or just clips?
I would call it a sizzle reel.
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of what we've seen before, I mean, it was, I think, very little, maybe 3 or 4 lines of dialogue, voiceover dialogue, voiceover dialogue at most, mostly just scenes, right? Just images of the different, a couple, 1 or 2 shots of Dedra, 2 shots of Cyril, 1 shot of Cinta.
No,
they were not
together.
Okay. 1 shot of Cinta, 1 shot of Vel. I almost didn't recognize because she was brunette.
Oh,
instead of
Cinta
blonde.
Was barely recognizable too. She looked like the war had taken its toll on them.
Okay.
Usually a sizzle reel has a lot of behind the scenes footage, but it sounds like this was just clips
of
the actual show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mon Mothma shot a couple shots here or there. There was very much this kind of Hunger Games vibe. The movies when they were in the Capitol more so kind of Cyril was in this outfit that was very kind of like Capitol flare, and his hair was kind of up. And then there was a shot of Cassian.
At the last shot of the teaser was Cassian in formal wear, kind of looking out at the camera with the Flynn Rider smolder, I would say, right? Like Diego looking out at the camera, just like, with in his formal wear. It was amazing. It got a big laugh from the audience because of course we haven't seen Cassian dress up at all, right, in the first season. And so it was that's where Tricia said to me immediately that reminded her of the Capitol of the Hunger Games, right? Is that you're taking a character like Katniss, right? Who's in a impoverished community, and then she has to come to the Capitol and dress up and perform.
Right.
And so it had that same kind of feel. He's the spy, right? He's putting on an act of being in formal wear. And the context wasn't at all clear, but it was definitely, slick hair, clean shaven, formal wear.
With the smolder. I love that.
Yes, with a kind of a smolder, yes.
One of the things I love about Andor and Tony Gilroy in particular is with all this secrecy Lucasfilm has, Tony Gilroy's just like, yeah, the last shot of Andor season 2 is going to be Cassian walking into the Rings of Kafrene, where we see him, he's just like laying it out there. Like, this is going to be the last shot, but it's about the journey, So I kind of love that. It's like, it's all transparent, but we get to kind of fall into the story.
we overheard some fans in the Q Hall talking about Andor Rogue One, and they said, "I really liked that movie. The beginning and the end. I really liked the beginning and the end. They all kind of had the same sentiment, but the middle of the movie was a mess, and it is the middle of Rogue One is a mess." And Tony Gilroy's trying to make it all make sense, like why this guy would like do the things he did in that middle section. So I feel like there's a lot of things that he can still answer, because some of the choices he makes in Rogue One, you're just going along for the ride and you don't think too hard about it. And because once the movie's done, they're dead. It doesn't matter. You don't have to think too hard about why they were doing the things. But from a storyteller's perspective, the middle is a mess as far as motivation. So I feel like Tony's like wants you to understand, and he's done a little bit so far with the mom and relating to losing a parent, that kind of stuff for Jin. And so I think he just wants it all to make sense. So to him, it doesn't even matter that he's saying, he's just trying to finally make it all fit the way he would have if he could have done it from the beginning.
So he's doing to Rogue One what Lucas did with the Clone Wars animated series. Like, there's only so much storytelling I can do in 3 movies. Let's fill in the gaps with an animated series.
Well, speaking of that, like The Rise of Skywalker, bringing back Palpatine. I mean, what is all this Mandalorian stuff, leading to? That's all kind of filling in that gap. Somehow Palpatine returned. Let's get 5 series and a movie to tell us how.
But the key thing is they will tell us how.
Yes.
I hope at some point they release some footage from this panel, because one of the other panelists was John Gilroy, who is the editor. Tony was the showrunner. His brother Dan is one of the 4 writers who did scripts. And then their other brother John was the editor, the film editor, right, who cut everything together. Wow. And so I was doing the live tweeting while Tricia was taking pictures and videos. And there were a couple times I wasn't sure who was talking, because they sound the same and they have that same personality and the same sort of like mildly snarky, not snarky, but just, that little sort of like that dry humor and just sort of irreverent and just delivery. And so it was just so funny once they started bouncing off each other, and it was just, you could definitely tell they're brothers who love each other and love working together, because they do, but they totally love like teasing each other and giving each other grief about stuff all the time too. And so that really came across in the panel. It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
I'm getting to worry about Alan Tudyk. Because you would think that K2SO would be a prominent figure in these clips that they showed. I know he's all digital. I'm sure he hasn't been done yet, but for Celebration, at least render one shot.
Is there a D23 though coming up
next year, 2024?
Yeah. I think the digital is the biggest reason, because I don't think that. I think that's one of the reasons we just saw like these really brief glimpses, because they were things that they could, because there's such good practical sets behind them that everything was something that you could fill in.
And now that Tricia says that, I'm not sure there were any effect shots in what we saw. I think it was all, very, tight shots of heads and faces, no wide shots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but right before, like a year before Andor came out, Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk were making the rounds, and then when it was told that Alan Tudyk wasn't going to be in the first season, a lot of fans were very disappointed, because everyone loves K2SO, and to not have him in these clips, at least cut to a shot of Alan Tudyk going, "I'll see you guys soon," something.
I feel like K2SO may not be in the first quarter of because we have to go through the process of him building him and creating him. So I know it jumps from, events that happen in a year to year. So it depends on what that event is. And it might just have been whatever this is, the first couple might not have had him. But again, it was just they were doing their panel, their Lucasfilm showcase. So they didn't have a lot of time. And then the making of was for the season 1. So they weren't going to talk about him in that one.
One of the clips they
Yeah.
did show was Mon Mothma with other senators, and someone had said one of those senators was Kaz's dad from Star Wars Resistance. And I haven't found anything else.
That's in the Ahsoka trailer.
Oh, okay.
Not in the Andor clip.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But so did you hear anything else about that being Kaz's dad?
So it's from what I saw on Twitter, so grain of salt, is so apparently there was a press release or something that came out with the Ahsoka trailer that listed I'm sorry, maybe it was still images, I don't know, but there was something official that came out that listed who those 5 characters were and the actors who played them. It's a lady playing the Gran, the 3-eyed alien, the Gran. So anyway, so the actors list, and then the character's name was whatever, something Xiono, whatever the dad's name is in Star Wars Resistance, was the character name in that list. So Senator so-and-so, Senator so-and-so, Mon Mothma, Senator Xiono, and then Senator what's or whatever. And so what I saw on Twitter was a screenshot of that paragraph, press from press material. So
yes,
track it down.
Yeah, well, good enough, because I love Resistance, and I'm hoping they're going to incorporate those characters in the movies, in the shows. All right, now let's move on to Skeleton Crew, which we know is going to happen because they just finished shooting. But then again, if you ask people over at DC and in the Batgirl crew, they'll say, that doesn't mean anything. But Skeleton Crew will happen. So no release date, so I'm guessing at some point of 2024.
And this is live action, right?
Oh, yeah.
I still keep thinking it's animated for some reason. I don't know why. It just seems like this would be good for animation, this story.
Well, remember when because they kept saying when they announced it last Celebration that it was like, it's for kids, but it's for adults too. So I think kind of the way they sort of sold it initially sort of just put it weird in people's heads.
Oh,
so
yeah,
they say
it'll explore the world of Star Wars through the eyes of children, but its creators are clear to point out that it's not a kids show, even though it stars kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still unclear as to what this is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Goonies in Star Wars, I think.
I mean, it sounds like from things they've mentioned, there's elements of Goonies, there's elements of Bad News Bears, there's elements of
Bad News Bears.
John
Favreau sort of let that slip when he was talking about movies that inspired him. It was a Brian Young question when we did the round tables, and he mentioned the Bad News Bears, and I thought, how's that work in The Mandalorian? And then I realized it's the Skeleton Crew that he was thinking of. That, kids coming together to team up to overcome a situation. That's kind of where that comes. They kept saying Amblin. It's like an Amblin movie. So,
Well, they got to name one of the kids Kelly Leak just to pay homage to Bad News Bears. I'm almost getting like a Ewok adventure feel from this, where you have the lost kids who are now looking for their parents, but these kids accidentally boarded this mercenary ship, and the ship took off, and now they're trying to get back home, and the parents are looking for them. And they showed a clip, but once again, if you weren't in that main room, you didn't see this. Now, that begs a whole tangential question. Was there any kind of negative feeling toward this, that if people were there at Celebration, they should be able to see these clips? Even if they weren't in the main room, they didn't want anyone recording them, then have like little private viewings. Because I'm upset just talking about it.
There were a lot of people. Well, because, like I said, I was listening to people say I didn't get into any of the lottery. And so that lottery could really depend, because there were people who were saying they got all 4 and could, saw everything. So I think it just depended. But I do think that if you're at the convention, you should be able to see the exclusive clips.
Exactly.
I mean, and there's no reason to not say, okay, well, you weren't in the room. All you guys could funnel into the whatever room, whatever stage, and if you want to see it and play it, because I think they could find a way. in this day and age, right?
Yeah, have little private viewings for people. That way they can monitor if they're going to record or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they showed some of the creatures from Skeleton Crew on that showcase stage. They had like 10 creature costumes on mannequins, and one of them was from Skeleton Crew, the little tiny character at the very end. Which I'm loving these new creatures. And someone should say, "Hey, Andor, do you want to borrow a couple of creatures?" So how was everyone? How were their feelings towards Skeleton Crew as opposed to Ahsoka or the Acolyte? Is there as much excitement?
I just really didn't hear anybody talk about it. It's one of those weird things. Like it's not what it. You hear people say the Acolyte. You hear a lot of people say Ahsoka. You hear a lot of people say the Mandalorian. A lot of people said the Andor. There's a lot of love for Andor at the convention, and that felt like the things that people talk. I think it's just like you guys said. It's so nebulous that there isn't any sense of what it is. More so, you got a sense from the Acolyte footage what it was.
And I think too, Skeleton Crew, is still a very unknown quantity. People don't know what it really is. They hear the talking points, but they don't really have a sense of what it is. Now you can be excited for Andor season 2 because you already saw season 1. Because there's been a lot of High Republic now, Acolyte being High Republic adjacent gives a lot of people an immediate connection, and they see the costumes. The costumes resemble the High Republic costumes. So you have a lot of people who say this is another project related to stuff I already like. Yeah. And Skeleton Crew, they've made no mention. The only thing we heard, saw on social media was apparently the pirate Vane. Remember the guy who fled from
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The pirate.
From Kale. Kale Pirate's ship. He's in it. He was in the trailer.
Okay.
Wow.
But they're not even really pitching it as like, they're saying it's at the same time period as Mandalorian and Ahsoka, but they haven't said that like any of the characters that we know, it's not like Mando's in it or Grogu's in it. So I think a lot of people are just like, well, I don't really know what this is. So it's hard to be excited about something when you don't know what it is. And these other projects you do.
Yeah. It kind of sounds a little like when the Bad Batch was first announced. Like we know who the Bad Batch was and we're like, okay, well, more war stories, clones. Okay. Like I wasn't interested in that until we saw the first episode and you get the Omega thing, so it's one of those. I think we just have to see it.
If they cast these kids just right, like they did it with Obi-Wan Kenobi and little Leia, I think there'll be a really, really good series. Mm-hmm. And Jude Law is always good. He always brings it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be awesome creatures. So I got a good feeling about this, but with so much to come before that it's like, okay,
that's true.
I'll put that in the cranial archives to get excited about later on.
There were still a lot of, they put the t-shirts out with the show title on it, the show logo in the store. And even on Sunday at the end of the day, there was still a lot of Skeleton Crew and Acolyte shirts that were sitting there that, the stuff like the Mandalorian Bo-Katan shirts were like gone. Ahsoka, a lot of Ahsoka shirts. So, I just think it's not quite on people's radar yet. And, people say, why do they do press so close to when the shows are coming out? Because I think people's attention spans just aren't what they used to be as far as looking forward to stuff.
Oh, I remember back in the original trilogy era where you had so much time to look forward to things because one thing came out every 3 years, one movie, or comics were once a month, and now you get 15 comic titles a day.
Yep.
So that's very, very hard. And I miss those days of having one thing to really focus on.
That's not those days anymore.
Apparently not.
1 minute clips. All people have attention time spans.
1 minute? It's more like 15 seconds, if even that.
I know. Well, there's one more thing to talk about, and it's the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the new trailer. Mm-hmm. And also Harrison Ford sent in a message. Did you guys get to see this at all?
I saw the footage of the message.
Okay. Yeah, that was so sweet.
It always warms my heart when Harrison Ford mentions Star Wars, but in a positive light.
Well, he's so excited about Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and it was so sweet how he introduced Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And
but his addressing the Star Wars fans.
That's true.
I love that.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the new trailer?
It's Indiana Jones, so I'm excited for it. So, I mean, Harrison, obviously he was the secondary character in the, he wasn't the lead in Star Wars, but Indiana Jones was his franchise. So I understand why he has a different affinity for just that character and what that role played for him, because he had to carry the whole series. Although I don't think he realizes quite as how much he really did mean. If Han had made the right choice, I don't think A New Hope works as it did. So he did really carry the series in a lot of ways. I mean, Mark Hamill, not going to take anything away from him, but for a lot of people, Han Solo was kind of their key character. But Indiana Jones is, I'm just curious. I'm looking forward to it. I always laugh when people are like, "Oh, it's such a goofy name." I'm like, they're all goofy names. It's just that you saw them and people who haven't. Yeah, so you grew up with Indiana Jones, in The Last Crusade or The Temple of Doom, but they're all goofy names. I mean, that's part of the shtick of the series. Is it is kind of goofy. I mean, like the scene with him, pulling out the whip and the gun and playing on that whole vibe from back in the day and reversing it again, and it's all goofy. It's goofy and lighthearted, but at the same time, really earnest in its approach to the character.
I think starting with The Phantom Menace, that's when they really leaned into those old Flash Gordon titles. And I know you'll get things like Flash Gordon Strikes Back, or even Return of the Jedi was very generic. But when you get to The Phantom Menace, that's when you get into those titles that
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, what is this? This is not a Star Wars title. And Dial of Destiny falls into that same kind of category. But after a while, you get so used to saying it. It's like, oh, that's a great title.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like an amusement park ride. So, I mean,
yeah,
The
Eyes of Mara. Dial of Destiny. Yeah.
Dial of my rotary phone.
Well,
the Dial of Destiny is the reskinning of the teacups. It's just
oh, nice.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah, I just loved in the trailer seeing Indiana Jones on a horse in the subway. I was like, that is so Indiana Jones.
It is. However, Indiana Jones is 70 years old. Harrison Ford is 80 years old. So every shot, you can tell, it's like, okay, that's a stunt man. That's a stunt man.
I don't think about that.
I don't want to think about it. I just do.
Okay.
So I know 70 is like the new 50, but once you hit 80, you're not gonna be riding around subways on a horse like that.
Okay.
That's just me.
Okay. I just looked at it for the story.
Right. Now, how much of this film do you think is going to be Indiana Jones versus Phoebe Waller-Bridge? I think it's gonna be like 25% Indiana Jones, but mostly her story.
It's funny because a lot of people seem to be worried about that, but Marion was just, I think it's a different, it's a different relationship, but it's going to be the same type of vibe, whereas Phoebe is as important as Marion was to the original. I think they're trying to harness that kind of energy. So obviously Indiana Jones is having his adventure, but she is connected to the original stories, her character is. So it'll be fun to see kind of how she plays in with that vibe. I kind of got that from the trailer, just that vibe of, Marion snarking back, but this time it's, the daughter of a friend.
Yeah. And I think you can be, I know they had mentioned, I think it was it last year at Celebration, where they talked a little bit of how, they're not going to have I'm getting too old for this jokes every 5 seconds in the movie. But you can be very, Mangold is a very skilled screenwriter.
Oh, very much
so. I think he can, if you're clever with it, you can have a lot of scenes with Indy where he's talking, where he's doing good character work, or where he's doing things that are exciting, but maybe not, like the whip in the conference room with all the guys with the guns. Like that's you're not asking too much of the 80-year-old man, right? When you do that, even though it's going to get a big laugh and it's going to be funny and it's going to have gunfire and whips and everything in that scene. So I think a clever writer can kind of write around that and still really use the old character very effectively. And then probably some of the most madcap action, maybe you offload onto the younger actress. But
yeah.
I mean, wasn't the shot of them jumping out of a plane or falling out of a plane or something like that, right? So I don't think it's, they're not gonna hold back. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it compares to some of the other passing the torch movies that we've seen lately in terms of how they use the older legacy character versus the younger, more physically fit character.
Yeah, I love that shot of Indiana Jones walking by Mutt's gravestone. That didn't really happen, but I'm kind of hoping that scene does happen.
Oh, that's so mean.
Oh, come on. We're all thinking the same thing.
Mutt got transferred when he helped bring in Moff Gideon. And so, he's just not he's not around anymore.
Now we're already fanfic around the demise of Mutt.
Oh my god.
Now, I'm sure you guys attended so many panels throughout Celebration, but one more I want to touch on is the Disney parks where Star Wars comes to life.
Now, was this one available on the live stream for you guys or not?
Yes.
This was. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
This is where they announced the Star Tours being updated in 2024 and some new characters coming to Galaxy's Edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy they gave 15 minutes to Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of my reaction being in the room. Was they asked how many people had already been to Galaxy's Edge, and probably half the people in the room raised their hand and cheered. And you could tell like Scott Trowbridge was not ready for that.
Yeah.
Like they had this panel in mind of like, we're going to pitch Galaxy's Edge and Galactic Star Cruiser to people who don't really know much about it, who wouldn't have had a chance to go because of COVID, right? And stuff. So like it felt to me like, not quite, but I felt like 2/3 of this panel was just repeating what they did in Anaheim. And so I think it felt like, well, this is a European audience, people who wouldn't have been in our panel last year, and people who, maybe they have Disneyland Paris nearby, but they don't have the American parks nearby. And so I think they really created this panel thinking that they needed to pitch their content to an uninformed audience.
Yeah.
And so they weren't really ready to deal with, no. These are people who love Disney parks and have been to Galaxy's Edge, or certainly know about Galaxy's Edge, and want to hear new stuff. And so to only get, 8 minutes at the end talking about what's coming in the future, I think was pretty underwhelming for a lot of people in the room.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think if anyone's going to be at this panel, then they know everything there is to know about the Galactic Star Cruiser. Even if they hadn't been on it, they've seen the panels, they've seen videos. Footage. So I thought it was a lot of wasted time, and I honestly got kind of bored with this one, just because okay, we know this one. Let's talk to the fans who know we're up to speed with where Disney and Star Wars meet, and let's just move ahead. And we don't need to go on with the making of and the commercials. We're good with that.
Well, I heard two sentiments coming out of the panel. One was a group of girls talking about, I don't know why they try so hard with this Galactic Star Cruiser pitch. It's essentially the cost of a year's worth of vacation budget for 2 days of vacation. And what did she say? No one in their bloody mind would do that except for the posh people. So she essentially was like saying this is a rich person's activity, so it was less interesting. But I felt like also in that discussion, still listening to them talk, and that they were very much Disney and Disney park fans. So I think what I felt like people were saying is they wanted to see more things that were like more detailed, because they already knew about that. If they wanted to do Star Cruiser, they would look into it and do it. I know Anne Morrow Johnson said she said it's not a hotel, like that
Yes.
bothers her that people say that, but because she wants to people to understand experiential, but just still the price point, for a lot of people is just so overwhelming. But a day at Disney isn't. And they also conflicted their own message, because they're like, all this stuff, Galaxy's Edge, you can choose your own adventure, and we set it in these different timelines and not da-da-da. And they're like, but we're putting characters in because you really want to see them. So like they conflict themselves in their own message in their own panel. And I know they're struggling with that I think people are very excited to see, like Mando or Fennec Shand or, really real characters. I mean, it did not bother me to go on the parks ride with Iron Man and Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it bothers nobody.
and that they're rarely together in the storytelling. In the comics, they more so. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, they're just funny, quippy characters, and they work just fine for that ride. That it doesn't fit in a cinematic universe doesn't matter to most people.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to anybody.
Exactly. And I think they would have been better, instead of having a panel where they're trying to pitch Galactic Star Cruiser or Galaxy's Edge, it would have been better had they had a section of the show floor for like an hour-long experience of what the Galactic Star Cruiser is, where you interact with 2 or 3 of the characters for maybe an hour, and you like sign up for times.
Yeah.
And
I would have brought Gaia. I would have brought Gaia out and had her sing.
Yeah.
And then after the hour experience, say 25% off anyone who signs up this weekend.
Yeah.
Like they do for the vacation clubs and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yeah, like the
Sign
timeshare.
up right now.
Yeah, sign up before noon. You have 8 minutes, 35 seconds to sign up. But yeah, they should have had Gaia there.
Mm-hmm.
People would have fallen in love with her. Instead of just giving them the Jimi Hendrix poster, have her come on out and perform. And then have the characters interact like we saw on the Galactic Star Cruiser. Give them the experience instead of just talking about it. And break down what they get. A 45-hour dinner show theater, plus all the blue milk you can drink, all the food you can eat. Tell them what they're getting.
Yeah. It's hard.
And I thought it was just weird too, because like you're joking about the Jimi Hendrix poster, but this guy's like really famous poster designer guy, and it's like Scott Trowbridge just explaining it off the top of his head while they put a few pictures up on the screen. Like, why didn't you have like an 8-minute featurette about who this guy is and all the famous posters he's designed that you've probably seen before, and how important he is and how cool it was that he agreed to come out of retirement to do this Gaia poster? Like, I would have been much more interested in that than rambling on for the first 45 minutes of the panel about stuff everybody already knows. I mean, it felt the back part of the panel had the new interesting stuff, right?
Yeah.
This Gaia poster, the Gaia playlist is coming, the Rex playlist is coming, and New Star Tours is coming. Why did you cram all of that in the last 15 minutes of the panel? That could have been 30 minutes of the panel. I know they didn't want to talk about the Star Tours destinations because some of them are from the upcoming content that, whatever, they don't want to reveal anything yet. But it still struck me as very strange, that you did have stuff to share that people would be excited about, and it felt like an offhanded, oh, by the way, at the end of the panel,
right? And
here's some cool things you want to know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, we know, I think Sarah, Richard, and myself, and probably you, we were at a Celebration Disney Parks panel. What was this, like, I don't know, 4 conventions ago?
It was
and
2019.
I fell asleep.
Yes.
Yeah, I fell asleep because I was so bored in it. And I've covered a lot of those type of parks things that they've done at Walt Disney World and stuff, and they're typically just not very interesting.
I fell asleep during watching this one. It was very boring.
So Richard's like, oh, I'm harnessing Tricia. I'm going to snooze during the panel.
That's right, you did. You did fall asleep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because there's, like we're just talking about, there's so much potential, and they just told us stuff we already know.
It's a big ad.
It is.
Well, speaking of, you guys, I know you must have both got the Gaia poster, but is there any other merchandise that you got that you thought was really cool, like, for this convention to have?
I got the Ewok nesting dolls. I was really excited because I thought they were going to be sold out. So managed to snag those, and they didn't seem to be sold out. So there wasn't as much interest maybe as that. And
are they plush? Or are they?
No, they're like a Russian nesting doll.
Okay.
Like the figures.
Like the eggs.
And then I'm trying to think. It was interesting because the armor bag kept going from Loungefly, and again, if you don't have the lightning lane, and that was something I really wanted. And then obviously they went on sale online, and then the Funko were supposed to be the exclusives went online. So I ended up buying a lot of things that I saw at the convention and just had them shipped to my house. So there was one that got away though. So there's the Ahsoka the White Amazon Power of the Galaxy Funko that they have, a Sabine, a Leia, a Rey, I think, and then Ahsoka the White. And that one has been not available, but a lot of people have bought it on Amazon but haven't gotten it yet. That happens a lot with Funkos. You order them and anyway, so a lot of people had them like pre-sale on eBay. And I saw, while we were in the store, I saw someone, I swear that the Ahsoka White went by, and I was like, and then I saw they had a bunch of Ahsokas that weren't the Ahsoka the White. So it's been kind of this mythical one, and then BJ's found a guy who had grabbed it off the shelf. So they were unloading stuff all the time on the shelves. So that box had been opened and it got away from me. I was like running towards that shelf and realized there weren't any left. But I really had seen that box. So I'm still hoping to get it from, I don't know why you can get all the other ones, but you can't get this Ahsoka the White. It's like so hard to get.
Yeah, all this stuff is always made available afterwards.
Generally.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Max Rebo set.
I did like the heroes and villains stuff too. Like they had a lot of like bomber jackets and just an Ahsoka line. They had like some high-end stuff. So a lot of, I actually went back after I saw Ash Crossan wearing the Mando knit jersey sweater. I ordered that for myself online. So.
Nice.
Now, they didn't really lean in too much to the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, considering the merchandise. I know they had the Max Rebo set. Other than that, was there anything else?
They had the Max Rebo plushes. They had the Ewok thing. They had a few of the shirts.
A lot of pins.
A lot of pins. The pins were Return of the Jedi themed. A lot of them. That was about it, though.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the big headlines was supposed to be like the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, but it seems like that took like
a
backseat and then a backseat to the backseat. I know they had the big panel, which we didn't see yet.
No, we haven't seen it.
You know what? Those panels just don't even interest me because they don't. If they put like, if it had been, I'm trying to think of the one when Hayden came out. That was the Phantom Menace.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones, or yeah. At a few celebrations ago. It was probably 2. Chicago when
2019 and the Phantom Menace, right? 2019.
That's all because of Ahmed Best. And everyone's showering love on Ahmed.
That's it.
On
okay,
Ahmed
not
Best.
Hayden.
Yeah, Hayden was in 22.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So but typically those panels, unless they have the original actors on them, they just aren't as interesting or compelling that I think that they could be. So it was really weird because there were people who really wanted to go to that panel, and there were people who were like, that doesn't interest me in the least.
Yeah, we're planning a 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi panel with a special guest that if we get this special guest, this is the panel I would want to see. I would not want to see the one at Celebration because it's just going to be the same stories.
Now, BJ, did you get any special merch?
I got a few shirts from the store. I think that's about it, really.
My prize thing I got though wasn't at the Celebration. It was at Disneyland Paris. So I got the Wanda tiara.
Oh, is that what that was? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, can you wear it, or like how does it work? You can.
You can wear it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a full Wanda, Scarlet Witch tiara. Exciting.
Wow. Did they have the Return of the Jedi re-release posters at the store? Because it's coming out on April 28th, and I thought I saw someone that had the poster after it wasn't. Now, or did they give those posters away at that?
I think they give them.
Them away, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it was at the panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't the full size; they were the
little mini posters.
whatever 18 by 26 or 36 or whatever it is.
We can't get those home from Anaheim in good shape, so I couldn't even imagine getting them home from England.
We did get quite a bit of art.
Yeah, we did. We got a lot of art at the art show. Yeah.
Oh, really?
That was one of the things we did. That's one of the things we did on Friday when we didn't get into the showcase panel, is we just picked up our art then because we knew we'd have a busy rest of the weekend. So got a couple of Ahsoka prints, a Grogu print, and yeah, it was nice. The pre-order pickups, go pretty quickly.
That's nice.
So.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, it must be the next day for you. Are you on the same day as us, or are you the day? This
Same
is
day.
what? This is Monday, so it must be what, Wednesday or Thursday to you?
It's Monday.
It's still Monday. Okay.
All right. Well,
You know how celebration is. You don't go to sleep for like 3 days because
Yeah.
you just
yeah. Well, okay, so one last thing. They announced when the next celebration will be.
Oh, boy.
2025, Japan on Easter weekend. So
I guess you probably won't
I know.
be
The
there.
first thing I thought it was you guys.
Are you guys planning on going? I mean, most likely.
I don't know, because it's kind of tempered by that. Is there going to be a movie? Well, and here's the thing. So the talk on the floor was it was going to be Orlando.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a lot of talk. And I heard that from a lot of different people who I think would have legit know that was going to be where they thought it was going. And I was at the live stage for that closing ceremony, and they said, oh, and we're going to announce. Then Amy said, oh, I just have it right now. It came to me. So she apparently nobody knew that it just had been revealed to her so she could say. And the energy in live stage was so good until that point. And then it was just kind of like, But now we're talking probably a lot of Europeans who definitely won't make a trip to Japan, and but a lot of people were expecting it to be a states convention because it had been, and to be 2 years. So in theory, the next celebration could be in the States could be 3 or 4 years away. So I think there was like a double whammy of, well, I'm not going to Japan and I'm going to not be at a celebration for 3 or 4 years. So there was really kind of the air went out of the room as the vibe I felt.
Yeah, and I was on the celebration stage, and the reaction was very muted. It was, they put it up, and everyone was like, "Oh, all right." And they started playing the playoff music, and everyone was just getting up and leaving. And it wasn't. There was no sort of big stand around and cheer and be excited for next year. So everyone's like, "Oh, that's the news. Okay, bye."
It's like the same thing that happened in Orlando when they announced Germany as the next, like, Essen, and they had the band, the polka band, come in, and everyone was like, okay.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. Although now if it happened in Germany, I'd definitely go.
Unless it was on Easter weekend. Why?
I almost wonder if they would have been, well, I'm not sure they care, but if they would have been better off announcing 2.
Yeah.
Right. Announce like Japan, April 2025, Orlando, April 2026, or something like that. And then people would know, like, okay, I know when the next American one is. I can, if I'm not going to go to Japan, I can start saving for this other trip.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, maybe they're not, we don't know Reed's situation. We don't know Lucasfilm situation. They probably don't want to commit to a con 5 years off. So there's reasons not to do that. But I think there were a lot of people who were underwhelmed or disappointed that was the only announcement they got. And it was kind of a deflating way to end the con.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
All right, now to wrap it up, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me, Tricia Barr, at Fangirl Cantina on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and look for an episode of Fangirls Going Rogue where we do a little bit more of a deep dive into some of the cool women and the things related to women that we saw at Celebration.
Yep.
And you can find me, BJ Priester, at Red Pen of Lex on Twitter and Instagram, and FanGIRL Blog, where I'll be doing a few posts talking about the convention.
Excellent. All right, guys. Get some sleep.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photobombed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
So the last day of Star Wars Celebration Europe, they announced where and when the next celebration was going to be taking place. And it's going to be in Japan on Easter weekend.
2025. That's right.
Yes.
So I believe that's April 18th through 20th. It is only 3 days.
And what did we do immediately? And when we heard that announcement, we ran to our phones and asked Siri, when is Easter in 2025?
Yeah.
and Siri confirmed, yes, it was that weekend.
Richard, you put a post up right away on our Facebook group asking what people thought about this, and we got a ton of comments. We're also going to read some comments here from our live stream. So Gary Oransky says, same as I felt about London, if I'm going to a foreign country I've never been to before, I would rather it not be for a convention so I can see way more sights. Oh.
See, I'd rather go for a convention and then see the sights in and around that.
It's like an excuse to go, I guess.
Yeah, because I don't think we'd ever... Well, we would go to Japan only to see the Disney parks on that side of the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, Wesley Meecombs says, happy for those folks in Japan. Not so happy for myself, since my first celebration will have to wait for another 3 to 4 years. Hopefully, unless the next one is in Brazil or something. Brazil? Not traveling to Japan for a 4-day convention. Experience, yes. And then he corrected himself by saying 3-day experience.
Yes. Bianca says, great for those fans on that side of the world. Spread the love.
Hey, isn't Bianca in our Sky Chat right now?
I think she was in the last one.
Okay.
All right, so Reynold Gobey in our Sky Chat, 60 to 90% sure that I'll attend. Excellent.
That's a better percentage than ours. We're
50. We're on the fence.
Okay.
Or 30. I don't know.
I'd say like 28.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Eric has family in Japan, so I'm not ruling it out yet. That's how I'd feel about like Germany. I'd be like, I want to go because then I can visit my cousin's third removed or whatever it is in Austria.
Hey, you don't know me, but I'm going to be there for 3 days while I go to Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
While I get a chance to reminisce with you. No, but can I crash on your couch?
Okay, so Kelly brings up a good point. Japan is very tempting, especially with Tokyo Disney.
And that is what's pulling us.
Yes.
Maybe from 28% to 29%.
Because Tokyo Disney and then Shanghai Disneyland is across the pond right there. And Shanghai Disneyland, you guys, has Zootopia Land. It has like this tangled boat ride that you ride through the it's got Frozen, like I don't know, all like the things that I most love about Disney is in Shanghai, and I really want to go.
Okay, maybe now 30%.
I know.
All right, Courtney Turkill says on Facebook, sounds like I'm going to have serious FOMO again.
Oh, Melissa Truth Miller on Facebook says, so excited. Japan is one of my favorite travel spots and is really easy to navigate. And Tokyo Disney Sea is my favorite park. We've heard that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Tokyo Disney Sea.
All right, now, what does Teresa say?
Teresa says, nope.
Yeah, that lays it all down right there. No skirting the issue.
Yeah, your comments are amazing, you guys. Let's go back to YouTube here. Dr. Mad Studio. I've always wanted to go to Japan, but I doubt I'll ever go there. Traveling anywhere these days by car, train, or plane isn't cheap, and this cost of living over here doesn't help. Yeah, it's true.
Very much. All right.
Luckily, I mean, Star Wars Celebration does a great job with the live stage, though. Like, we were actually quite happy with all the panels they streamed live this time.
Yeah, that live stream was invaluable.
It was great.
Yeah. All right. Jeremy Stevenson says, I was really hoping for something domestic so I could finally get to one. But I did see someone point out online that if they keep with the every other year trend, then in 2027, it will most likely be stateside for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But that's a long, long wait.
Yeah.
But 4 years, it'll be here before you know it.
Mm-hmm. Meredith, I can't make plans for Japan until I'm done with this year. I got you, Meredith. I got you. Christopher Marino, before I can decide, I have to see where we are on Avatar.
Well, Christopher, there's like 15 more avatars to go. You think you'll be done with those in the next 2 years?
Oh my goodness. Let's see.
Damien says here in the Sky Chat, Chiba, Japan is where Star Wars Celebration is going to be in 2025.
Did they announce that? Because, okay, cool. I don't know where that is.
You know where Chiba is?
I don't. Is that near Tokyo Disney?
If so, then we're up to 31%. Well, Rune Marchand says on Facebook, looks like you have to wait for 2027. Looks like a lot of people are waiting for that 50th anniversary.
I know, it's exciting. Oh, okay, so Tony is waiting. He's not attending Japan due to it being during the school year. Yeah, lots of times aren't good for people too. Like I believe wasn't Celebration in August at one point?
Yeah.
And it was
two
really
of them.
hard.
The ones in
That's
Orlando
right.
in 2008 and 2010.
And like the school year had just begun, so it was really hard for any teachers to get away.
It's gonna be hard no matter when it is.
Yeah.
But why not May the 4th?
Mm-hmm.
May the 4th or Memorial Day weekend, which is the official real Star Wars weekend. The official Star Wars Day is May 25th, so why not have it that Memorial Day? Because most people have it off from work.
That would be a great weekend to have it.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm. Not on Easter weekend, which, I'm gonna say it again. I think it's kind of inconsiderate to have Star Wars Celebration on Easter weekend because you're taking a lot of those actors and crew away from their families on Easter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
a family event.
Really religious people will not want to go anywhere else but church.
Yeah,
all right,
and
understandable.
Pastors can't go. Yeah. Mm. Woo! Oh, and Bryn McKinnon on Facebook says, "I'm seriously considering it, and that surprises me." Aw.
Eric reminds us here in the Sky Chat that in 2008 it was in Japan, and I've always waited for them to come back to Japan, and for a brief second, I was happy with the announcement of the next celebration will be in Japan, but then they had to follow it up with when it's going to be, and that just destroyed all my hopes and dreams. Do you know how hard it is to find information on Celebration Japan? Because I had made the entry in Today in Star Wars History, but there's just about nothing online that documents it.
Okay.
There was like one passage somewhere where, Sarah, you just sent it to a friend of yours who can translate Japanese. Yeah, which is how we got a little bit of information in Today in Star Wars History. All right, hold on. Meredith is also saying there's a lot of conventions already holding down Memorial Day. All right, make it one more.
Yeah.
Make it Celebration. It's not like they're going up against Comic-Con in July.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. That's enough of a rant.
Yeah.
This is our shout-out / rant segment. It was a rant hidden in our shout-outs.
Yes. So jury's still out for us. We hope whoever wants to go can attend. And there's the live stream for those that can't. And yeah, just let us know in the comments below whether you want to share your thoughts. Well, that wraps up episode 415 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We want to thank Tricia Barr and BJ Priester and all of you Skywalkers who tuned in live with us this week. There were so many of you. Thank you. And thank you for everything you do on our channels, like liking and commenting and sharing. It's just amazing.
And for those of you who are new here, are you interested in autographed copies of Today in Star Wars Histories Part 1 and 2? Well, you can get them right there at skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book.
Along with Skywalking Through My Fandom, an interactive notebook.
Available on May the 4th. But you can pre-order now.
Yes.
Now, we want to also thank our sponsor, Small World Vacations, for their continued support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park or the Galactic Star Cruiser? Well, you can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you, or you can say this in Purrgils.
Skywalking.
Skynet. Either we're going to be really sorry we started all this,
I know.
or really happy.
All right. Well, would you like to support Skywalking Through Neverland? You can support us through the Skywalking Force, our Patreon. The Skywalking Force has access to bonus content in the form of our Zoom discussions on the latest Disney Plus shows, which are recorded. So we have discussions all the way back to WandaVision available for your listening pleasure. We're also covering The Mandalorian. And you also get a coupon code for our new book, Skywalking Through My Fandom. This bonus content begins at only $5 a month, so head to skywalkingforce.com and have a look at the options available. And thank you, those of you who are already part of the Skywalking Force.
Now, we are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Do it in Purrgils.
It's really weird.
Yes, it was. Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
The Max Effects Podcast,
The Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis,
and Today in Star Wars History.
Also, we have started up doing YouTube Shorts. So if you like to consume your content in little 1-minute chunks, we've put up a bunch of shorts of, for instance, Katie Sackhoff talking about how she plays Bo-Katan, or Dave Filoni talking amazing things all the time, right? Just so many fun little shorts.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find us on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram, and you can join our Facebook group. So search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland. You can email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com, and you can also subscribe with the almost nearly 8,000 subscribers on YouTube.
So if you haven't subscribed just yet, please do it, because we're on the cusp of 8,000.
It's so exciting. In fact, go to your friend or significant other and grab their phone and subscribe to.
That would be really, really awesome.
All right. Well, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And always remember
to talk Purrgils with your friends.
And Neverland on Alderaan.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.